Hello, it's Saturday the 3rd of October. You're tuned in to our 6 p.m. newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. It's very good to have you with us. I'm Mark Broome. Today is Korea's National Foundation Day, a public holiday that marks the founding of the oldest dynasty in Korean history. Koreans from all walks of life gathered in the heart of Seoul today to mark the occasion. Soo-eun reports.
According to legend, long ago, the godly sun Hwanung was looking down at the Korean Peninsula from the heavens. Hoping to save the confused land of animals and humans, he opened up the sky and came down to land to lay foundations for Gojoseon, the oldest dynasty in Korean history.
And today, Gaecheonjeol, also known as National Foundation Day, commemorates that milestone moment. Some 3,000 attendees have gathered here at Sejong Center for Performing Arts to mark the occasion.
The event kicked off with a solemn salutation to the national flag Taegukgi, followed by the national anthem 애국가 that was performed by pauper singers and youth choir members. Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn was also in attendance to give a congratulatory message.
Dear citizens, we need a new rise for Korea, based on the achievements made since our liberation from Japanese colonial rule 70 years ago.
Finishing off the Gaecheonjeol song, the participants gave their all for the 3 cheers of Manse, each one dedicated to the Republic of Korea, national harmony, and peaceful reunification. A grand orchestra of traditional drums, a flowery fan dance, and more musical performances celebrated Gaecheonjeol with hopes to heighten Korea's standing in the world. Soo-eun, Arirang News.
Now, US experts have praised South Korea for its role in maintaining peace and security in Northeast Asia. Meeting at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, the experts lauded President Park Geun-hye's Northeast Asia Peace and Cooperation Initiative that aims to build an infrastructure of trust between countries in the region. Evan Medeiros, a former White House advisor on Asia, said the initiative is creative and Washington appreciates South Korea taking the lead. Kurt Campbell, former US Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, said South Korea is the fulcrum state in Northeast Asia, which puts considerable responsibility on South Korea's leadership. Seoul's ambassador to the United Nations says the UN Security Council could expand restrictions imposed on the transfer of luxury goods to North Korea if Pyongyang makes good on its threat to launch a long-range rocket. Speaking to US news agency Voice of America, Oh June said the current measures that only ban the export of some luxury items and strategic materials to North Korea, but these could be expanded if necessary. The remark suggests the UN could use toughened sanctions to target the country's elite, not ordinary North Koreans. The ambassador also said UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon would be willing to visit North Korea if it could promote peace on the Korean Peninsula. Now, there has been speculation North Korea is prepping for a rocket launch later this month to mark a key political anniversary. A launch would be in violation of UN resolutions banning the regime from such activity. And North Korea hasn't been taking kindly to all the talk of sanctions and international pressure over its planned rocket launch. For a look at what's been said and the chance of a provocation happening in the coming days, our Defense Ministry correspondent Kim Hyun-bin reports.
North Korea has been reacting angrily to international pressure over its plans to launch a rocket or even conduct a 4th nuclear test. During a speech to the UN General Assembly this week, North Korea's Foreign Minister Lee Soo-eun said Pyongyang would not just fold to the demands of the United States and its allies. The minister insists the regime is being treated unfairly over its legitimate plans to launch what it claims is a satellite into orbit.
If the international community continues to pressure our peaceful satellite launch, we will respond strongly.
North Korea's ambassador to Britain went even further, bringing Pyongyang's nuclear arsenal into the equation. Hyun Bong said North Korea would fire a nuclear missile at the United States if Washington were to provoke a war.
Nuclear warheads, with its explosive power tens of times greater than atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, will be flying across the Pacific Ocean.
The North's harsh rhetoric has South Korea, the U.S., and Japan on guard. Even Pyongyang's more traditional allies, China and Russia, have been speaking up, advising the regime against launching a provocation. That said, the South Korean government says it has yet to see any sign a rocket launch will happen in the coming days.
Together with the United States, we are keeping close tabs on the situation. We haven't had any indication a provocation is imminent.
Experts say North Korea is likely focused on preparing a military parade for October 10th to mark the 70th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. It's what happens after the parade that is causing concern. Some watchers say a rocket launch or a fourth nuclear test could be on the cards shortly after the anniversary. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, calls by major FIFA sponsors Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Visa and Budweiser for Sepp Blatter to step down immediately as president have fallen on deaf ears. Blatter's lawyer says it would not be in the best interest of FIFA for him to leave. Earlier in the day, Coca-Cola said the image and reputation of FIFA is continuing to tarnish with Blatter at the helm. Blatter is being investigated by Swiss authorities for criminal mismanagement or misappropriation over a TV rights deal he signed with former Caribbean football chief Jack Warner back in 2005. He is also accused of making an improper payment of nearly $2 million to UEFA chief Michel Platini. At least 30 people are dead and up to 600 missing after a massive mudslide in Guatemala. Authorities in the Central American country say the disaster occurred after heavy rain swept boulders and mud over dozens of homes on the southeastern flank of Guatemala City. Now, rescue crews, as you can see, are continuing to search for survivors in homes buried by dirt, rocks and sludge. The landslide was one of the worst in recent memory in Guatemala. Now, it appears the economic woes in China and elsewhere are squeezing US job growth, and that means talk of an interest rate hike could be off the table for at least the rest of the year. The US Labor Department says the US economy added 142,000 new jobs last month, and that's a figure well short of analysts' expectations. And on top of that, job gains from the previous 2 months were revised down as well. The unemployment rate in the US held at 5.1%, but that was mainly due to the number of people actively looking for work falling to an almost 40-year low. Now, most analysts say the current economic conditions make it likely the Federal Reserve will wait until next spring at the earliest to start raising rates. Now, we all know that getting a good night's sleep is extremely important to our physical and mental well-being, but how many hours do we really need to stay healthy? Some Korean researchers say they have the answer. Our Won-jeon has the golden number.
Mr. Lee, a salaryman in his 40s, thought he was in great shape. After all, he worked out almost every day while staying away from cigarettes and alcohol. So he was shocked when the results from his latest health checkup showed that he was at high risk for developing coronary heart disease. And this was mainly due to lack of sleep.
I tend to wake up at least once between 2 to 3 a.m. And when I do, all sorts of work-related thoughts come flooding to mind. So I get confused about whether I'm awake or dreaming.
According to a recent study by Gangbuk Samsung Hospital conducted on more than 47,000 adults, the quality of sleep is closely linked to a person's risk of developing heart diseases. Heart scans from the study show that people who slept 5 hours had 50% more calcium in their coronary arteries compared to people who got 7 hours of sleep per night. And people who slept 9 hours had 70% more calcium than 7-hour sleepers. The calcium buildup can narrow people's arteries, increasing the risk of heart attack. So the research is suggesting that 7 hours are the ideal amount of sleep we need every night to stay healthy. The study also found arterial stiffness in people who couldn't sleep well.
Our research shows that even for perfectly healthy adults, getting too much or too little sleep can ruin the quality of their sleep, which can lead to hardening of the arteries.
The research has been published online in the American Heart Association journal, ATVB. Won-jeon, Arirang News.
Now, before we go, taking a brief look at the weather, and we can certainly say that autumn is here now. We'll see temperatures tumble to a rather chilly 8 degrees Celsius in Seoul overnight, so you will need to layer up if you're heading out this evening. The good news is that the days are still very pleasant. We'll have bright sunny skies across most of the nation on Sunday, with the daytime highs in the low to mid-20s across the country. With that, let's take a look at the weather around the world. Well, that's all we have for now. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday wherever you're watching us, and stay tuned to Arirang TV. We'll be back with our next newscast at 10 p.m. Korea time. Until then, goodbye.